The sky over Seoul turned bright in the middle of the day. Captain Taewon Kim looked up from the military base yard. A large ship, silver and smooth, moved slowly across the blue sky. It was 5 times bigger than the largest airplane humans had ever built. "Is this really happening?" asked one of his soldiers. Taewon didn't answer. After 20 years in the Earth Defense Force, he had trained for this moment his whole life. But now that aliens were actually here, he felt his mouth go dry. His phone rang. "Captain Kim," he answered, his eyes still on the massive ship. "Report to headquarters immediately," said General Kang's voice. "The visitors want to meet our leaders." 3 hours later, Taewon stood at attention in the main meeting room of the United Nations building. World leaders filled the seats. On the stage, 3 tall beings stood calmly. The aliens called themselves Norvians. They had smooth blue skin, stood about 7 feet tall, and had 4 arms each. Their eyes were large and black with no visible whites. They wore silver suits that seemed to glow slightly. The tallest Norvian stepped forward. "I am High Commander Vex," he said in perfect English. His voice sounded like it came from everywhere at once. "We come to share knowledge with Earth." "Why have you come to our planet?" asked the UN secretary. Vex smiled, showing teeth that looked like small white squares. "We explore the galaxy looking for developing worlds. We offer protection and guidance to those we deem worthy." Taewon watched carefully. Something about the alien's tone bothered him. "And what do you want in return?" asked the president of South Korea. "Very little," said Vex. "We ask only that you acknowledge our superior position and accept our protection. In time, your world will join our alliance of 17 star systems." Murmurs filled the room. Taewon noticed how Vex said alliance but talked about superior position in the same breath. "Allow us to demonstrate why our protection is valuable," Vex continued. One of the other Norvians stepped forward. He raised his upper right arm, and a small device appeared in his hand. He pressed it, and suddenly a glowing blue bubble formed around all 3 aliens. "This is our greatest achievement," Vex said proudly. "Energy shields that no weapon can break. This technology has kept our civilization safe for over 500 years. The 3rd Norvian pulled out what looked like a gun. He fired it at Vex. A bright beam of light shot out and hit the shield. The shield flashed brightly but remained intact. Vex didn't even flinch. As you can see, not even our own advanced weapons can penetrate our defense. Nothing in the known galaxy can break these shields." The room went silent. The demonstration was impressive. "We will share some technologies with Earth," Vex continued. "Not all, of course. You must prove yourselves worthy first." After the meeting, the world's military leaders gathered in a private room. Taewon stood against the wall, listening. "They talk about sharing, but they want us to bow to them," said the Chinese general. "But their technology is far beyond ours," argued another. "Those shields alone could change everything." General Jiho Kang, South Korea's top military commander, noticed Taewon. "Captain Kim, you've been quiet. What do you think?" Taewon stepped forward. "Sir, I don't trust them. They use words like alliance and sharing, but they act superior. I think they want something they're not telling us." General Kang nodded. "I agree. That's why I'm appointing you as our military liaison to the Norvians. Get close to them, learn what you can." Later that evening, Taewon sat in a small restaurant in downtown Seoul. The TV above the bar showed footage of the alien ship. Everyone in the place watched silently, their food getting cold. "I ordered you the spicy tofu stew. Still your favorite, right?" Taewon looked up to see Han Sol Park sliding into the seat across from him. His childhood friend now worked as one of South Korea's top scientists. Her short black hair was messy and dark circles showed under her eyes. She had probably been working nonstop since the aliens arrived. "Thanks," he said. "How are you handling all this?" Han Sol sighed. "I got assigned to study their shield technology. They're letting a small team of scientists look at it tomorrow." "Do you think it's really unbreakable?" Taewon asked quietly. She shrugged. "Nothing is unbreakable. Everything has a weakness. We just need to find it. General Kang made me the Liaison officer, Taewon said. I'll be seeing a lot of these Norvians. Han Sol leaned forward. Good. Then we can work together. You watch them, I'll study their tech, and we'll share notes. Taewon nodded. Something isn't right about them. Did you notice how they talk about helping us, but they keep calling themselves superior? Classic colonial behavior, Han Sol replied, just like old Earth powers used to do. Come in talking about civilization while planning to take control. Their food arrived, steaming hot. They ate in silence for a few minutes. What do you think they really want? Taewon finally asked. Han Sol stirred her soup thoughtfully. Earth has resources. Water, metals, maybe things we don't even know are valuable. Or maybe they just want another world to control. With shields like that, who could stop them? Taewon said. Like I said, everything has a weakness. Han Sol's eyes shone with determination. We just need to find it. 1 week later, Taewon stood at the edge of a large field outside Seoul. The Norvians had set up a demonstration area to show off more of their technology to Earth's military leaders. Hi. Commander Vex stood in the center, his shield glowing around him. Today we will show you why your weapons are no match for our defenses. He nodded to his assistants. They brought out several Earth weapons, a machine gun, a rocket launcher, and even a small tank. We have studied your primitive weapons, Vexy announced. Allow us to demonstrate their ineffectiveness against our shields. One by one, they fired the Earth weapons at Vex's shield. Bullets bounced off. Rockets exploded harmlessly. Even the tank shell just made the shield glow brighter for a moment. Vex spread all 4 of his arms wide. As you can see, your most powerful weapons cannot harm us. This is why you need our protection. There are dangers in the galaxy far worse than us. Taewon noticed something interesting. The Norvians had tested bullets, explosives, and heavy projectiles, but no simple handguns. He made a mental note to tell Han Sol. After the demonstration, Taewon approached one of the younger Norvians who had been operating the Earth weapons. Hello, Taewon said politely. I'm Captain Kim, the liaison officer. The Norvian looked at him with those big black eyes. I am Junior Officer Rill. It is my first visit to another world. Taewon smiled. What do you think of Earth so far? It is. Rill seemed to search for words. More diverse than I expected. On our world, things are more uniform. Uniform how? Taewon asked casually. Everyone knows their place, Rill said. Everyone follows the same rules, believes the same things. High Commander Vex says it is the mark of an advanced society. Taewon nodded, filing this information away. And these other 17 worlds in your alliance, do they also have this uniformity? Rill's 4 hands fidgeted slightly. They learned to adapt to our ways, some faster than others. And those who didn't adapt quickly, the aliens' eyes darted around to see if anyone was listening. They eventually understood the benefits of our protection. 3 months passed since the Norvians arrived on Earth. Run down his spine. They had built a large base outside Seoul. His suspicions were right. They called it a cultural exchange center. They were conquerors using their superior technology to subjugate other worlds. A military outpost. Thank you for your liaison Junior Officer Rill. Taewon said, most days at the alien base. I look forward to learning more about your civilization. He watched how the Norvians worked. They showed humans some technology. Taewon took out his phone and sent a message to Han Sol. Plants that grew 10 times faster than Earth crops. Find a weakness in those shields. But they kept their best tech hidden, especially their shield technology. Captain Kim, please join us, called High Commander Vex. Today, the aliens were showing off a new ship that could fly faster than anything humans had built. Taewon walked over, forcing a smile. Impressive craft, High Commander. Yes, said Vex, his black eyes shining with pride. This small vessel can reach your moon in less than 1 hour. Amazing, said Taewon. When will you share this technology with us? Vex's smile faded slightly. In time, Captain. Your people must prove ready first. This was always the answer. Taewon was getting tired of it. What exactly must we do to be ready? He asked. Accept our guidance fully, Vex said. Some of your leaders still resist our advice. Taewon nodded, his face blank while his mind worked quickly. The Norvians wanted total control, just as he suspected. That evening, Taewon met Hansol at her lab at Seoul National University. She looked exhausted. Papers covered her desk and 3 empty coffee cups sat beside her computer. "Any progress?" Taewon asked, closing the door behind him. Hansol rubbed her eyes. "Some. The Norvians let us examine a small shield generator yesterday. And? It's frustrating," she said. "They let us look at it but not take it apart. When we ask how it works, they give vague answers about energy harmonics and phase shifting." Taewon sat down. "They're stalling. I think they're studying us more than we're studying them." Hansol nodded. "I've noticed that too. Every time we examine their tech, they ask dozens of questions about our weapons, our power systems, even our basic physics theories." Taewon leaned forward. "What have you learned about the shields?" "They create some kind of energy field that responds to incoming attacks. It's not just a fixed barrier. It actually reacts differently based on what hits it." "Like it knows what's coming?" "Exactly," said Hansol. "It's programmed to recognize energy weapons, high-speed projectiles, and explosives. Then it creates the exact counterforce needed." Taewon thought about this. "So it's specifically designed to stop certain types of attacks?" "Yes. And that's interesting." Hansol pulled out a notebook. "What if there are attacks it's not designed to recognize?" The next day, a major demonstration was planned. The Norvians had invited military leaders from around the world to see their shield technology up close. The event took place in a large open field. Hundreds of important people sat in chairs facing a stage. High Commander Vex stood in the center, looking confident. "Honored leaders of Earth," he began, his voice loud and clear. "Today, we will show you why your planet needs our protection." Behind him, a large screen showed images of space. Strange ships that looked nothing like the Norvian vessels appeared. "The galaxy holds many dangers," Vex continued. "Predator species that would destroy your world without thought. Only our shield technology has kept them at bay." The screen changed to show simulations of attacks on Earth cities. Huge explosions, strange weapons firing from orbit. It was frightening to watch. "But with our protection," Vex said, "you would be safe." He pressed a button on his wrist. A large shield bubble appeared over the entire stage. It glowed blue, just like the smaller shields they had seen before. "This shield could protect an entire city," Vex announced proudly. "Now, we will demonstrate its power." 2 Norvian ships flew overhead. They fired energy beams at the shield. The shield flashed brightly but remained intact. Next, they dropped what looked like bombs. They exploded against the shield in bright flashes, but did no damage. The crowd gasped. Even Taewon had to admit it was impressive. "No weapon in the known galaxy can break our shields," Vex declared. "This is why the 17 worlds in our alliance look to us for leadership." After the demonstration, Taewon noticed Junior Officer Rill standing alone near the edge of the field. He walked over casually. "Quite a show," Taewon said. Rill nodded. "High Commander Vex enjoys these demonstrations. He says they help primitive worlds understand their place." Taewon kept his face neutral despite the insult. "These other worlds in your alliance, did they all join willingly?" Rill looked uncomfortable. "Most saw the wisdom in our protection. And those who didn't?" Rill looked around to make sure no other Norvians were nearby. "The Galton tried to fight. They had powerful weapons but not as good as our shields. Their main city was made an example of." "You destroyed it?" Taewon asked quietly. High Commander Vex said it was necessary to prevent more deaths later. Rill's 4 hands trembled slightly. After that, the other Galton cities surrendered. Taewon felt cold inside. "And now they're part of your alliance?" "Yes. They provide resources and soldiers. In return, we give them protection." "Sounds more like slaves than allies," Taewon said before he could stop himself. Rill looked shocked. "We don't use that word. We say protected partners." Taewon nodded. "Of course. Thank you for explaining." As he walked away, Taewan's phone buzzed. A message from Han Sol. Made a discovery. Meet me at the lab ASAP. An hour later, Taewan arrived at Han Sol's lab. He was surprised to see her smiling for the first time in weeks. What did you find? He asked. Han Sol locked the door and turned off her phone. I've been analyzing the data from all the shield demonstrations. She pointed to her computer screen. It showed a chart with different colored lines. The Norvians have tested their shields against every major Earth weapon, missiles, lasers, tank shells, fighter jets, but not once have they tested against simple, slower projectiles. Taewan frowned. Like what? Like basic firearms, handguns, regular bullets. Why would they bother? Taewan asked. If their shields can stop missiles, surely they can stop a bullet. That's what I thought too, said Han Sol. But yesterday one of my assistants had an accident. He dropped a metal tool while the small shield generator was running. The tool fell through the shield like it wasn't even there. Taewan's eyes widened. What? The shield didn't activate at all. Han Sol continued excitedly. It's like it didn't recognize the tool as a threat because it was moving too slowly, or wasn't the right type of object. Could it have been a malfunction? Taewan asked. I thought so at first, but then I reviewed all our data. Han Sol pointed at the screen again. The shields are specifically designed to stop energy weapons and very fast projectiles. They may not be programmed to recognize slower, simpler objects as threats. Taewan thought about this. Have you tested your theory? Han Sol's smile faded. No, the Norvians watch us too closely. We'd need our own shield generator to test properly. Taewan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I might be able to help with that. How? Junior Officer Rill. He seems different from the others, more questioning. I think he might help us. Han Sol looked worried. That's dangerous, Taewan. If the other Norvians find out. They're planning to take over our world, Taewan said firmly. We need to know if their shields have a weakness. Han Sol nodded, slowly. Okay, but be careful. As Taewan left the lab, his phone buzzed again. A message from General Kang. Emergency meeting tomorrow. Norvians announcing new phase of partnership. Something big is coming. Taewan texted back quickly. Understood. We'll be there. Then he sent another message to Han Sol. We're running out of time. The next morning, Taewan sat in the large meeting room at military headquarters. General Kang and other world leaders looked worried. On the main screen, High Commander Vex smiled at them from the Norvian base. We have decided to expand our presence on Earth, Vex announced. We will build protection centers in major cities around your world. Protection centers? Asked the American general. What exactly does that mean? Small bases with shield generators, Vex explained. For your safety, of course. General Kang leaned forward. And how many Norvian soldiers will staff these protection centers? Only a few thousand per city, Vex said casually. They will maintain the shield equipment and ensure proper security. The room grew tense. Everyone understood what this really meant, the start of a military occupation. How soon do you plan to begin this expansion? Asked General Kang. 1 week from today, Vex replied. We will start in Seoul, as a symbol of our successful partnership so far. After the meeting ended, General Kang pulled Taewan aside. Captain, what have you learned about their shields? Taewan kept his voice low. Sir, Dr. Park has a theory that they might have a weakness, but we need to test it properly. How? We need a shield generator, a small one that we can experiment on without the Norvians knowing. General Kang frowned. That's impossible. They guard their technology closely. I might have a way, sir, Taewan said, but I'll need your permission to take a big risk. The general looked at him for a long moment. We have 1 week before they start their occupation. Do whatever you must, Captain. That afternoon, Taewan found Junior Officer Rill inspecting Earth vehicles at the Norvian base. He approached casually. Interesting machines, aren't they? Taewan asked. Rill looked up. Yes, so inefficient. but creative in their own way. I was wondering if you might join me for dinner tonight, Taewon said. I'd like to learn more about your culture. Ril seemed surprised but pleased. I would enjoy that, Captain Kim. Later that evening, they sat in a quiet corner of a small restaurant. Ril watched with fascination as humans at other tables ate with chopsticks and talked loudly. Your people seem so free, Ril said quietly. Aren't Norvians free? Taewon asked. Ril's four hands fidgeted. We have order. Everyone knows their role. He paused. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to choose your own path. Is that not allowed in your society? Questions are discouraged, Ril admitted, especially about the High Command's decisions. Taewon took a chance. Like the decision to occupy Earth? Ril's large black eyes widened. It's not occupation, it's protection. Protection that we didn't ask for, Taewon said. Just like the Galton didn't ask for it. Ril was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke in a whisper. I was young when the Galton city was destroyed. It was the first time I questioned if our way was right. Taewon leaned closer. Ril, I believe Earth is in danger. Not from outside threats, but from Norvian protection. What can I do? Ril asked. I'm just a junior officer. We need to understand your shield technology better, to see if peaceful cooperation is possible. You want me to steal a shield generator, Ril said. It wasn't a question. Borrow, Taewon corrected. For research, to find common ground. Ril looked down at his plate. If I'm caught, I understand the risk, Taewon said. But thousands of lives may depend on this. After a long silence, Ril looked up. Meet me behind the science building tomorrow night. Come alone. The next evening, Taewon waited in shadows behind the Norvian science building. His heart pounded in his chest. If he was caught here, it would be seen as spying, or worse. Door opened quietly. Ril stepped out carrying a small silver box. Quickly, the Norvian whispered. The security drones will be back in 3 minutes. Taewon took the box. It was surprisingly heavy for its size. Thank you, Ril. I don't know what you hope to find, Ril said. Our shields are perfect. That's what we're taught from childhood. Nothing is perfect, Taewon replied. That's what humans are taught. He slipped away into the night, the stolen shield generator hidden under his coat. An hour later, Taewon arrived at Hansol's private lab. She had cleared a special room for their secret tests. You actually got one, she said, her eyes wide as Taewon placed the silver box on the table. We have maybe 24 hours before they notice it's missing, Taewon said. Let's make them count. Hansol carefully examined the device. It's smaller than the ones they've shown us. Probably for personal use, not for protecting a vehicle or building. She pressed a small button on the side. The box hummed and a blue shield bubble formed around it about 3 feet wide. Perfect, Hansol said. Now we can start testing. They worked through the night. First, they tested things they already knew. The shield stopped energy beams from a laser pointer and small metal balls fired at high speed from an air gun. Just as expected. Next, they tried different tests, dropping various objects through the shield, throwing things at different speeds, testing different materials. Look at this, Hansol said excitedly as the sun began to rise. She showed Taewon her computer screen. The shield reacts differently based on the object's speed and energy type. What does that mean? Taewon asked, rubbing his tired eyes. It means the shield is programmed to recognize specific threats. Fast objects, energy beams, explosives. But slower objects moving at certain speeds barely trigger a response. She picked up a pen and tossed it gently at the shield. It passed through with only a slight flicker of the blue light. So anything thrown slowly enough can pass through? Taewon asked. Not exactly. It's more complex. Hansol checked her notes. It's about the combination of speed, mass, and material. Taewon thought for a moment. What about bullets? Have we tested regular bullets yet? No. I was saving that for last because it's louder. They set up a small handgun inside a soundproof box. The gun was aimed at the shield with a gel block behind it to catch the bullet safely. This is a standard military sidearm, Taewon explained. 9mm rounds. Hansol nodded and started the remote firing sequence. The gun fired with a muffled bang. They both stared in shock at the result. The bullet had passed completely through the shield and embedded itself in the gel block. The shield had barely flickered. "That's impossible," Hansol whispered. They tried again with the same result. Then they tried different guns. Large rifle bullets were stopped by the shield, but the smaller 9mm rounds went straight through every time. "It's the specific combination," Hansol said, checking her instruments. "The size, weight, speed, and metal composition of the 9mm bullet creates some kind of resonance in the shield matrix, like hitting the exact right note to shatter a glass." Taewon stared at the shield generator. "Their perfect defense has a simple weakness. Not all bullets work," Hansol cautioned. "Just this specific type. But yes, their perfect shield can be beaten by one of our oldest weapons." Taewon's phone buzzed. A message from General Kang. "Norvians have noticed missing equipment. Base on high alert, report immediately." Taewon showed the message to Hansol. "We need to return the generator before they track it here." "But we've just made a huge discovery," Hansol protested. "We have the data. We know the weakness. That's what matters." Taewon carefully put the shield generator back in its box. "I'll return it and make up a story about finding it outside the base." "And then what?" Hansol asked. Taewon looked grim. "Then we prepare. The Norvians are starting their occupation in 4 days. Will General Kang order an attack based on our discovery?" "I don't know," Taewon admitted. "A war would cost millions of lives, even if we can beat their shields." Hansol looked at her computer filled with test results. "Maybe there's another way. A demonstration instead of an attack." Taewon nodded slowly. "I'll talk to the general. In the meantime, hide this data somewhere safe." As he left with the shield generator, Taewon felt both hope and fear. They had found a weakness in the perfect shields. But using this knowledge meant risking everything. 3 days later, Taewon stood in General Kang's office. Maps of Seoul covered the walls with red circles marking where the Norvians planned to build their protection centers. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" General Kang asked, his face serious. "Yes, sir," Taewon replied. "Dr. Park and I tested it multiple times. Standard 9mm bullets passed through their shields with almost no resistance." The general walked to the window. Outside, people went about their day, not knowing that in just 24 hours, alien soldiers would begin taking over their city. "Even with this weakness, we can't fight them directly," the general said. "Their ships have weapons that could destroy whole cities." "That's why we need a demonstration, not a battle," Taewon explained. "Show them we know their weakness, but offer peace instead of war." General Kang turned back to face him. "A dangerous game, Captain. If it fails, Earth pays the price. And if we do nothing, we become slaves like the other 17 worlds," Taewon countered. The general was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "I've spoken with world leaders. They agree to your plan with one condition. If it fails, we launch a full attack. Better to fight than surrender." Taewon felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. "I understand, sir." "The ceremony begins at noon tomorrow," General Kang said. "High Commander Vex will announce the new protection program. You'll be there as our representative." "And the weapon?" "Standard military sidearm, just as you requested. 9mm rounds. It will be hidden under the podium." Taewon nodded. "And Dr. Park? She'll be in the crowd with backup. If something goes wrong, she has all the test data to share with other military leaders." As Taewon turned to leave, General Kang added, "Captain Kim, I don't need to tell you what happens if you miss." "No, sir," Taewon said quietly. "You don't." That evening, Taewon sat alone in his apartment. He had written letters to his parents and sister, just in case tomorrow went badly. Now he stared at his phone, trying to decide whether to make one more risky move. Finally, he sent a message. Need to talk. Usual place in 1 hour, very important. 45 minutes later, he sat in the back corner of the small restaurant. The place was nearly empty. The door opened and Junior Officer Rill walked in. The Norvian looked nervous, his 4 hands constantly moving. I shouldn't be here, Rill said as he sat down. The base is on high alert. Someone took a shield generator 2 days ago. I know, Taiwan said. It was me. Rill's black eyes widened. You? But you returned it. You said you found it outside the fence. I lied. I needed to test something. Taiwan leaned forward. Rill, your shields have a weakness. Impossible, Rill said automatically. Our shields are perfect. That's what we're taught. Nothing is perfect, Taiwan replied. We tested it. Certain weapons can pass right through. Rill shook his head. Even if that were true, why tell me? I should report you immediately. Because I think you care about the truth and because tomorrow everything changes. Taiwan explained the plan, how he would demonstrate the shield's weakness during the ceremony, how he hoped this would force the Norvians to negotiate fairly instead of conquering Earth. You would risk war? Rill asked, shocked. To prevent becoming slaves? Yes. Taiwan looked directly at the alien. What would you do? Rill was quiet for a long time. If what you say is true, it changes everything. Our whole empire is built on the belief that our shields make us invincible. I'm not asking you to betray your people, Taiwan said. I'm just asking you to watch tomorrow. And if I'm right, help your leaders make the right choice after. Rill stood to leave. I make no promises, Captain Kim, but I will watch closely. Tomorrow. As the Norvian walked away, Taiwan wondered if he had just made a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. The next day, thousands of people gathered in Seoul's main plaza. A stage had been set up in front of the city hall. Large screens showed the event to those standing far back. News cameras broadcast to the whole world. Taiwan stood at the side of the stage in his formal military uniform. His heart beat fast, but his mind was calm. In his earpiece, he could hear General Kang. Remember the plan. Wait for my signal. 20 Norvian soldiers marched onto the stage, their blue skin bright in the sunlight. Each had a personal shield glowing around them. They stood in perfect formation facing the crowd. High Commander Vex stepped up to the podium, his forearms raised for silence. His shield glowed brighter than the others, showing his importance. People of Earth, Vex began, his voice magnified through speakers. Today marks a new chapter in our alliance. From this day forward, Norvian protection centers will ensure your safety from all galactic threats. In the crowd, Taiwan spotted Hansol. She gave him a small nod. Next to her stood 3 soldiers in civilian clothes, ready to move if needed. The first protection center will be built here in Seoul, Vex continued. Construction begins today and will be completed within 1 month. 5,000 Norvian security personnel will staff the facility. Whispers ran through the crowd. This was much larger than the small base they had described earlier. Additional centers will be built in 30 other Earth cities over the next year, Vex announced. Together, we will create a shield network to protect your entire planet. Taiwan knew what this really meant. Complete control of Earth just as they had done to 17 other worlds. Captain Kim, Vex said suddenly, please join me on stage as Earth's representative for this historic moment. Taiwan walked slowly to the podium. In his earpiece, General Kang said, stick to the plan, wait for my signal. Vex stepped aside, allowing Taiwan to face the crowd. Captain Kim has worked closely with us these past months. He understands the benefits of Norvian protection. Taiwan looked out at the thousands of faces watching him. Then he turned to Vex. High Commander, before we proceed, Earth would like to see one final demonstration of your shield technology. Vex seemed pleased by the request. Of course, our shields are our greatest achievement. We have seen how they stop energy weapons and explosives, Taiwan said. But I would like to test something simpler. In his earpiece, General Kang said, now, Captain. Taiwan reached under the podium and pulled out a standard military handgun. Several Norvian soldiers stepped forward, but Vex waved them back. A primitive projectile weapon? Vex laughed. If our shields can stop fusion bombs, they can certainly stop that toy. May I? Taewon asked, pointing the gun at the ground near Vex's feet. Vex spread all four arms wide. Please, Captain, show your people the futility of resistance. The plaza went completely silent. Everyone watched as Taewon aimed the gun at the ground just in front of Vex. The High Commander stood confident, his shield glowing blue around him. Taewon pulled the trigger. The sound of the shot echoed across the plaza, and then came a sound no one expected, the sharp ping of the bullet hitting the concrete at Vex's feet. The bullet had passed straight through the perfect shield as if it wasn't there. Vex stared down in shock. The crowd gasped. On the large screens, everyone could see what had happened. Impossible, Vex whispered. Not impossible, Taewon said, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Your shields have a weakness. A simple 9mm bullet passes right through. The 20 Norvian soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Their lifetime belief in their invincibility was shattered in an instant. High Commander Vex's face changed from shock to rage. Seize him, he shouted to his guards, but before they could move, hundreds of human soldiers appeared at the edges of the plaza, all carrying handguns. They didn't point their weapons, but the message was clear. Taewon raised his hand for calm. We don't want war, High Commander. We want true alliance. As equals, not as masters and slaves. In his earpiece, General Kang said, Well done, Captain, stand by. The whole world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. For several tense seconds, no one moved. High Commander Vex stared at the small hole in the concrete where the bullet had hit. His black eyes then locked onto Taewon with pure fury. This is some trick, Vex hissed. Our shields are perfect. No, technology is perfect, Taewon replied calmly. We discovered that 9mm bullets create a specific resonance that passes through your shield matrix. The Norvian soldiers looked uncertain. Their whole lives they had believed their shields made them invincible. Now, in front of thousands of humans and billions more watching on screens around the world, that belief had been shattered. Shields. To maximum power, Vex ordered his soldiers. The blue glow around each Norvian grew brighter. Taewon kept his voice steady. It doesn't matter how much power you use. The weakness is in the design, not the strength. To prove his point, he fired another shot at the ground, this time near a different Norvian soldier. Again, the bullet passed through the shield and hit the concrete. Panic began to spread among the Norvian ranks. Some raised their weapons, but others stepped back, suddenly aware of their vulnerability. We could have kept this discovery secret, Taewon continued, addressing not just Vex, but all the Norvians. We could have waited until you placed your troops in our cities, then attacked when you least expected it. But that's not what humans want. He lowered his gun. We want peace. Real peace, not subjugation. We want to work with you as equals, not serve as your slaves like the 17 other worlds in your alliance. You dare threaten the Norvian Empire? Vex snarled, his four fists clenched. Not a threat, Taewon corrected. An offer. A chance to build something better than conquest. Suddenly there was movement at the edge of the stage. Junior Officer Reel stepped forward, breaking formation. High Commander, Reel said, his voice shaking slightly. Perhaps we should consider their offer. Silence, Vex shouted. You forget your place. No, sir, Reel replied, standing straighter. For the first time I am finding my place. He turned to the other Norvian soldiers. We were taught that our shields made us superior, that it gave us the right to rule others. But if our shields can be defeated by such a simple weapon, what does that say about our empire? Vex pointed at Reel. This is treason. Guards, seize him. But none of the soldiers moved. They looked at each other, at Reel, at the human soldiers surrounding the plaza, and at the bullet holes in the concrete. In his earpiece, Taewon heard General Kang. The Norvian ships in orbit are powering up weapon systems. We need to end this. Peacefully now. Taewon took a deep breath. High Commander Vex, your ships can destroy our cities. You could kill millions of humans. But now, Every human soldier knows how to defeat your shields. Any war would cost both sides terribly. He put his gun down on the podium and stepped back, hands empty. Or we can start over. A real alliance, built on mutual respect. The choice is yours. A tense silence filled the plaza. In the crowd, Taiwan saw Han Sol watching anxiously. Around her, the backup soldiers had their hands on their weapons, ready to act if needed. Just when it seemed Vex would order an attack, another voice spoke from the side of the stage. "High Commander Vex, this is Council Member Draz." Everyone turned. A hologram had appeared at the edge of the stage, an older Norvian with gray-blue skin, wearing elaborate robes. "Council Member?" Vex said, suddenly looking less confident. I wasn't aware the Council was monitoring this event." "We have been monitoring all your activities, High Commander," the hologram said. "Officer Rill contacted us 3 hours ago with a most concerning report." Taiwan glanced at Rill, who gave him a small nod. So the junior officer had made his choice after their meeting last night. "The High Council is most disturbed by your actions," Council Member Draz continued. "You were sent to establish diplomatic relations with Earth, not to conquer it." "But our directive," Vex began, "was to expand our knowledge and find new allies," Draz interrupted. "Not to create more subject worlds. Your ambition has blinded you, High Commander." The hologram turned to face Taiwan. "Captain Kim, on behalf of the Norvian High Council, I apologize for High Commander Vex's actions. It seems he has been misrepresenting our intentions." Taiwan was surprised but kept his face calm. "Then the Norvian Empire is not built on conquest?" "There is no empire," Draz said firmly. "There is the Norvian Alliance, a coalition of worlds working together, some joined under Vex's aggressive diplomacy. This has concerned the Council for some time." Draz turned back to Vex. "High Commander, you are relieved of duty. Return to Norvia immediately for review." Vex's black eyes widened. "But Council, member, these humans have discovered a weakness in our shields. We must act before..." "Before what?" Draz asked. "Before they use their knowledge to help us improve our technology? Before they share their unique perspective with us? That is precisely what an alliance should do." 2 Norvian guards stepped forward and flanked Vex, who stood in stunned silence. The hologram addressed Taiwan again. "Captain, we would like to start fresh. True diplomatic relations as equals. Would Earth be open to such discussions?" In his earpiece, General Kang said, "Accept, but cautiously. We'll need to verify everything." Taiwan nodded. "Earth would welcome true diplomatic relations. We have much to learn from each other. And perhaps more to learn about our shield technology," Draz added, with what looked like a smile. "It seems our engineers became too focused on stopping certain types of attacks and overlooked simpler threats. A valuable lesson in assumptions." As Vex was escorted away, Rill stepped forward. "Council Member, I request permission to remain on Earth as part of the new diplomatic team." "Granted, Officer Rill," Draz replied. "In fact, for your courage in bringing this matter to the Council, you are promoted to diplomatic liaison." The hologram turned to address the crowd. "People of Earth, today marks a new beginning between our worlds, not as protectors and protected, but as equal partners in the galaxy." With that, the hologram disappeared. The remaining Norvian soldiers lowered their weapons. Humans in the crowd looked at each other, uncertain but hopeful. Taiwan stepped forward to the microphone. "Today we discovered that even the most advanced shield has a weakness. But we also discovered something more important, the strength that comes from choosing peace over power." 1 month later, Taiwan stood on the observation deck of Seoul's new Scientific Exchange Center. The building had been built where the Protection Center was originally planned, but with a very different purpose. "The first joint research team starts tomorrow," Han Sol said, joining him at the window. She now led Earth's shield technology research group working directly with Norvian scientists. "Do you think they've fixed the 9mm weakness yet?" Taiwan asked. Han Sol smiled. "They're working on it, but they found 2 more weaknesses in the process. And we found 3 in our own defense systems. That's the point of real cooperation." Taiwan nodded. And the other 17 worlds? The Council is renegotiating all those relationships, said Rill, walking up to join them. The Norvian War, the new blue and green uniform of the Galactic Alliance. Many changes are happening. All because of a 9mm handgun, Taiwan said, shaking his head in wonder. No, Rill corrected. All because humans chose to demonstrate the weakness rather than exploit it. That is what truly changed everything. Together they watched as the first joint human-Norvian ship rose from the spaceport, heading for the stars. It carried scientists from both worlds, ready to explore the galaxy not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners. The Council was right. About one thing, Hansel said quietly. We do have much to learn from each other, and much to teach, Taiwan added. Rill nodded, his four hands clasped in a gesture of respect. The greatest technology can be defeated by simple ingenuity. And the greatest power comes not from weapons or shields, but from the wisdom to know when not to use them. As the ship disappeared into the blue sky, Taiwan thought of the small handgun that had changed the course of history, not by the damage it could do, but by the truth it had revealed. Sometimes the smallest things could shatter the greatest illusions, and in that shattering, something better could be built. The end.